Your grandmother kept a small box of objects that made no sense. A dried flower from a wedding 60 years ago, a smooth stone from a beach she visited once as a child, a faded photograph of a place nobody in the family could identify, a piece of fabric from a dress long since thrown away. You found this box after she died, and everyone else wanted to discard it because these things had no monetary value, no practical use, no purpose that could be justified to the executor of the estate. But you kept it. You kept it because somehow you understood that these random objects were not random at all. They were anchors. They were portals. They were the physical evidence of moments when your grandmother had touched something eternal, when the ordinary world had cracked open just enough to reveal that there was always something more underneath. She never spoke about why she kept these things. She probably could not have explained it in words that would satisfy the rational mind, but she knew in a way that you are only beginning to understand now, that these objects were sacred not because of what they were, but because of what they had witnessed. Now you find yourself doing the same thing. You collect moments that you cannot explain to anyone. A feather you found on a difficult day that felt like a message from somewhere beyond your understanding. A ticket stub from a concert where you felt your entire body dissolve into pure sound. A leaf from the tree you were sitting under when you finally understood something about yourself that had been hidden for years. People would call this sentimentality or hoarding, or an inability to let go of the past, but you know it is something else entirely. You are trying to hold on to proof that the world is more than what we have been told it is. You are building your own small religion of ordinary objects that have been touched by the extraordinary. You are doing what humans have always done, what Mircea Eliade spent his life studying, what the modern world has trained us to forget. You are recognizing that certain things, certain places, certain moments are not just themselves. They are windows. They are thresholds. They are the places where something infinite breaks through into our finite existence, and everything changes even though nothing visible has changed at all. But here is what haunts you. You keep these objects hidden. You feel embarrassed about the box under your bed, the drawer full of seemingly meaningless things that you cannot bring yourself to throw away. You know that if someone found them and asked you to explain, you would struggle to find words that do not sound ridiculous. We live in a world that has taught us to be ashamed of this impulse, this deep human need to mark the places where we have encountered something greater than ourselves. We have been trained to believe that only childish or primitive or superstitious people attribute meaning to objects and places and moments. We have been convinced that maturity means accepting that a stone is just a stone, a tree is just a tree, a house is just a house, and nothing is ever a doorway to anything beyond itself. And so we hide our sacred objects like contraband. We apologize for our inexplicable attachments. We try to explain away the moments when we felt the world become suddenly luminous with meaning. What Eliade understood, what he spent decades documenting across every culture and every era of human history, is that you are not strange for feeling this way. You are human. The strange ones are those who have successfully trained themselves to see the world as nothing but dead matter, arranged in functional patterns. What you are experiencing when you cannot throw away that feather, that stone, that photograph, is the persistence of something ancient within you, something that refuses to accept the flattened world we have been given. You are remembering, even if you have no conscious memory of it, that humans have always lived in two worlds simultaneously. There is the ordinary world of eating and sleeping and working and dying, the world that simply is what it is. And then there is the other world, the one that shines through at unexpected moments, the one that transforms a simple object into a holy relic, a familiar place into a temple, a routine gesture into a ceremony that connects you to everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. The tragedy of modern existence is not that this second world has disappeared. It is that we have been taught not to see it, not to trust it, not to speak about it, and certainly not to organize our lives around it. You know what touches me most when I read your messages? It is realizing that we are not alone in this search. If you are listening to me now and feel that emptiness, that sensation that something important is missing in your life, I want you to know that I understand exactly what you are going through. There were moments when I also felt completely disconnected from the sacred, lost in the midst of a routine that seemed to suck all the magic out of existence. That is why I want to ask you a very direct question. What was the last moment you felt there was something greater than yourself present in your life? It could have been contemplating a sunset, listening to music, or simply in an instant of silence. If you feel comfortable, Write in the comments, "I miss the sacred in my daily life," and briefly tell when that last moment was. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to read today to feel less alone in this journey. And I promise I will read each comment with the care it deserves. The word hierophany sounds academic and distant, like something that belongs in dusty textbooks about ancient religions that have nothing to do with your life. But Eliade used this word to describe exactly what you experienced when that house stopped being just a house. Exactly what your grandmother was preserving in her box of mysterious objects. Exactly what you are trying to hold on to with your own collection of things that mean nothing to anyone but you. A hierophany is simply the manifestation of the sacred in the profane world. It is the moment when something ordinary reveals itself to be a vessel for something that cannot be contained or explained or reduced to its physical properties. It is the crack in reality through which eternity pours in. And it is not rare or exceptional or reserved for mystics and prophets. It is the fundamental structure of human consciousness. It is how we have always experienced the world until very recently, until we built a civilization specifically designed to eliminate these experiences, to smooth out the cracks, to seal up the doorways, to convince us that what we see on the surface is all there is. Every culture that has ever existed has known about hierophanies. They have different names for them, different ways of marking them and honoring them and returning to them, but the experience itself is universal. The Aboriginal Australians speak of the dreaming, the eternal dimension that intersects with ordinary time at specific locations that must be protected and revisited. The ancient Greeks recognized certain groves and springs and mountains as places where the gods were particularly present, where the boundary between human and divine became thin enough to cross. Medieval Christians built their cathedrals on sites that had been recognized as holy for thousands of years before Christ. Places where people had always felt the presence of something that exceeded ordinary reality. Indigenous peoples around the world have always known that certain rocks, certain trees, certain clearings in the forest are not just geographical features, but living presences that must be approached with reverence and care. This is not primitive superstition. This is sophisticated awareness of how consciousness actually works, of how meaning actually emerges, of how human beings actually orient themselves in a world that would otherwise be nothing but meaningless matter in motion. What makes something a hierophany? It is not that the object or place or moment possesses some magical property that can be measured or verified. A stone that serves as a hierophany is not different in its chemical composition from any other stone. A tree that marks a sacred site is not a different species from the trees around it. What makes something sacred is not what it is, but what it reveals. The sacred is not a property of things, but a dimension of reality that shines through things when conditions are right, when we are paying attention in the right way, when the veil between worlds becomes momentarily transparent. And here is what the modern world cannot accept. The sacred is not subjective or imaginary or a projection of our psychological needs. The hierophany is a real encounter with a real dimension of existence. It is as real as anything you touch or see or measure, but it is real in a different way. A way that cannot be reduced to the categories our scientific worldview recognizes as legitimate. Think about what happens when you encounter a hierophany. Time changes, not in the sense that clocks stop or hours pass without your awareness, but in the sense that you are suddenly in a different kind of time altogether. The urgent rush that normally governs your life disappears. The endless progression from past to future. The ticking countdown that makes you anxious about aging and deadlines and all the things you have not yet accomplished suddenly becomes irrelevant. You are in what Eliade called sacred time, a time that is not measured in minutes and hours but in intensity and depth, a time that loops back on itself and connects you to every other moment when anyone has ever experienced what you are experiencing now. When you stood transfixed by that house, you were not just in January 2026 on a Tuesday morning. You were in the eternal now. The moment that is always happening, the time that human beings enter through ritual and ceremony and spontaneous eruptions of the sacred into ordinary life. And space changes too. The place where you encounter a hierophany stops being just a location on a map, a set of coordinates that could be replaced by any other coordinates without loss. It becomes a center. It becomes what Eliade called an axis mundi, a world axis, a point where heaven and earth meet, where the vertical dimension breaks through the horizontal plane of ordinary existence. Every cathedral and every temple and every shrine in human history has been built to mark and honor and return to a point where someone experienced this breakthrough, where the world revealed itself to be more than just surface. but you do not need a cathedral. The axis mundi can be anywhere. It can be a corner of your bedroom where you pray or meditate. It can be a bench in a park where you once sat and felt the universe expand inside your chest. It can be the kitchen table where your grandmother told you stories that made you understand something about who you were. What matters is not the physical location, but the fact that at this spot, in this place, you experience the world as sacred rather than profane, as meaningful rather than random, as oriented around a center rather than extending infinitely in all directions with no point more significant than any other point. Modern people think they can live without hierophanies. We have built a world where everything is interchangeable, where every place is the same as every other place, where we can work from anywhere and live anywhere and die anywhere, because nowhere is special, nowhere is sacred, nowhere demands our reverence or our return. We think this is freedom. We think this is progress. We have liberated ourselves from the tyranny of sacred places and sacred objects and sacred times. We can throw away anything because nothing is irreplaceable. We can move anywhere because we are not bound to any particular ground. We can schedule our lives according to productivity and efficiency because we are not constrained by the rhythms of sacred calendars and seasonal ceremonies. And yet, we are miserable. We are anxious and depressed and lost and empty because we have cut ourselves off from the very structure that makes human life bearable. We have banished the sacred and wondered why nothing feels meaningful anymore. We have eliminated hierophanies and wondered why we feel homeless even when we have an address. If you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognizes that there is a different path, a deeper way to understand your own spiritual journey. I know what it is like to feel lost amid so much noise of the modern world, seeking answers that always seem to slip through your fingers. That is why I created this space, this refuge where we can explore together the ancient wisdom that still pulses alive in our hearts. When you subscribe to this channel, you are not just clicking a button. You are joining a community of people who, like you, feel that life has deeper layers waiting to be discovered. Here you will find not just knowledge, but genuine embrace for your thirst for meaning. Subscribe now and be part of this journey of rediscovering the sacred in everyday life. Your soul deserves this gift. What Eliade discovered in his research across cultures and centuries is that the human being is naturally religious. Not religious in the sense of belonging to a particular church or believing in a particular doctrine, but religious in the sense of being oriented toward the sacred, being capable of perceiving the sacred, being nourished by encounters with the sacred. He called this fundamental human type homo religiosus, religious man, and he contrasted it with modern man, who tries to live as if the sacred does not exist, as if reality is exhausted by what science can measure and what the market can commodify. But here is the crucial insight. Modern man is not a new species. Modern man is homo religiosus in exile, homo religiosus in denial, homo religiosus starving while surrounded by material abundance. You cannot actually stop being homo religiosus. You can only forget how to recognize and honor and return to the sources of sacred experience. And that forgetting comes at a devastating cost. Watch what happens when people try to live without the sacred. They do not become rational and enlightened and free. They become addicted. They compulsively consume products and experiences and stimulation because nothing satisfies the hunger that can only be fed by the sacred. They become depressed because their lives lack the vertical dimension, the sense that there is something higher and deeper that gives meaning to the horizontal plane of daily survival. They become anxious because without sacred time, they are trapped in profane time, the relentless forward march toward death with no eternal dimension to relativize it, no cyclical return that promises renewal and regeneration. They become lonely because without sacred space they have no center, no home, no place where they truly belong. The modern world offers therapy and medication and self-help and productivity hacks, but none of these address the root problem. The root problem is not psychological or chemical or behavioral. The root problem is spiritual. We have organized our entire civilization around the denial of the sacred, and we are dying of that denial. But the sacred has not gone anywhere. This is what you must understand. The modern world has not eliminated hierophanies. It has only trained you not to recognize them, not to trust them, not to organize your life around them. The tree in your neighborhood is still a potential axis mundi. The stone in your pocket can still serve as a material anchor for an encounter with eternity. The moments when time stops and meaning floods through you are still available, still real, still transformative. What has changed is not reality, but your relationship to reality. You have been taught to explain away these experiences, to reduce them to neurochemistry or nostalgia or aesthetic pleasure. You have been taught that it is childish to treat objects as sacred, primitive to recognize certain places as holy, superstitious to organize time around anything other than productivity and convenience. And so you experience hierophanies, but immediately dismiss them. You feel the sacred breaking through but refuse to honor what you have felt. You keep your box of meaningful objects but hide it in shame. The path back is not complicated, but it requires courage. It requires that you trust your own experience even when that experience contradicts everything the modern world has taught you. It requires that you stop apologizing for the moments when you feel the world become luminous with meaning. It requires that you begin, deliberately and consciously, to mark and honor and return to the places and objects and practices that open you to the sacred. This is not about joining a religion or adopting a belief system, though it may lead you there. This is about recovering your birthright as homo religiosus, your natural capacity to live in both worlds simultaneously, to navigate between the profane and the sacred, to find your center in a world that wants you to believe there is no center. Start small. Choose one object that matters to you in a way you cannot fully explain. A shell you picked up on a beach 10 years ago. A photograph that makes you feel something you have no name for. A book that changed your life not because of its argument, but because reading it was itself a sacred experience. Stop hiding this object. Put it somewhere you will see it every day. Let it become what it wants to be. A physical reminder that the world is more than what we have been told it is. A hierophany in miniature. A crack in the surface through which the sacred can enter your life. You do not need to explain it to anyone. You do not need to justify it. You do not need to understand it yourself. You only need to honor it. Choose one place. It does not have to be exotic or beautiful or impressive. It can be a corner of your apartment, a bench in a park, a quiet spot near your workplace. Go to this place regularly, not to accomplish anything, not to meditate or pray or practice mindfulness, but simply to be there in a way that acknowledges that this place is different from other places. Let it become your axis mundi, your center, your point of orientation in a world that wants you to be always moving, always producing, always consuming. Over time, if you return to this place with attention and reverence, it will begin to change for you. It will become a doorway. The sacred will begin to manifest there more readily because you have marked it as a place where you are available for such manifestations. Choose one practice. It can be something you invent or something you borrow from a tradition that speaks to you. Light a candle at the same time each evening. Walk the same path each morning with full attention. Sit in silence for 10 minutes before you open your computer and let the profane world rush in. The specific practice matters less than the regularity and the intention. You are carving out sacred time within profane time. You are saying that not every moment is the same, that some times are set apart, that there is a rhythm to existence beyond the arbitrary schedules of work and obligation. This is what ritual has always done. Ritual is not empty repetition. Ritual is the technology humans developed to reliably access sacred time, to step out of the forward march of profane time into the eternal now where transformation becomes possible. These small acts of resistance against the flattening of reality will begin to change how you experience everything. You will notice that hierophanies become more frequent, not because reality has changed, but because you have learned to recognize them again. You will feel the world become alive in ways you thought were lost with childhood. You will understand that your grandmother was not being sentimental when she kept her box of mysterious objects. She was being fully human. She was maintaining the connection to the sacred that every human being before the modern age took for granted. She was living as homo religiosus even in a world that no longer had a vocabulary for such existence. And you will realize something profound. The emptiness you have been feeling, the homesickness without a home, the grief without a clear loss, all of this was not personal failure or mental illness or existential weakness. It was a sign of health. It was your soul refusing to accept the diminished reality that has been offered to you. It was homo religiosus within you, starving and desperate, crying out for what it needs. Every human being needs food and water and shelter, yes, but every human being also needs the sacred. We need hierophanies the way we need oxygen. We need sacred time and sacred space and sacred objects the way we need love and purpose and beauty. We cannot live well without them. We can only survive, and surviving is not the same as living. Eliade spent his life documenting what the modern world wants to forget. He showed that there has never been a human culture that did not organize itself around the sacred, that did not mark certain places and times and objects as doorways to a dimension beyond the ordinary. He showed that what we call religion is not a primitive stage of human development that science has rendered obsolete. It is the fundamental structure of human consciousness, the way we are built to experience reality, the mode of being that allows us to find meaning in a cosmos that would otherwise crush us with its vastness and indifference. He showed that modern man is not more advanced but more impoverished, not more realistic but more blind, not more free but more trapped in a flattened world that recognizes only one dimension of existence. But he also showed that the way back is always available. The sacred has not withdrawn from the world. It has only withdrawn from our awareness. Every moment contains the possibility of hierophany. Every object can become a vessel for the sacred. Every place can become an axis mundi. Every gesture can become a ritual that connects you to the eternal. You do not need permission or credentials or initiation into secret knowledge. You only need to remember what you knew as a child, before you were taught to be ashamed of it. You need to trust that the moments when reality becomes suddenly meaningful are more real than the gray stretches of profane time that surround them. You need to stop explaining away your experiences and start honoring them. The world you long for has not disappeared. You have been living in it all along. You have just been trained not to see it, trained to explain it away, trained to treat it as if it were nothing. But your grandmother's box of objects testifies otherwise. Your own collection of inexplicable things testifies otherwise. The moments when time stops and you feel connected to something vast and ancient testify otherwise. These are not illusions or sentimentality or weakness. These are apertures through which truth enters a world that has forgotten what truth looks like. These are hierophanies, and they are everywhere. And they are calling you home to a way of being human that you never completely lost, because it is woven into the very structure of consciousness itself. Start today. Look around your life for the hierophanies you have been dismissing. Honor them. Mark them. Return to them. Build your life around them instead of fitting them into the margins of a life organized around profane concerns. You will be going against everything the modern world teaches, but you will be joining something far older and far wiser than the modern world. You will be remembering how to be human. You will be coming home.